Hello everyone, welcome to another Flesh and Blood video. In this video, you may have seen from the title and or the thumbnail, I think I have finally cracked how Teklovossen beats arcane damage. I think this list is good for Teklovossen standards. I think it's one of the better Teklovossen lists I've seen. I'm going to be explaining it a lot. So with that said, let's just get straight into the video. Teklovossen, esteemed magnate, is a 4 intellect, 40 health mechanologist hero. He has the ability that you can play evos from your banish zone, and as a once per turn instant, you can pay 3 to be able to play your next evo as an instant, and when you do, you draw a card. This ability is here pretty much just to say, this is the Evo's hero. You want to build your deck around Evos. If you're not, you should have just played any of the other mechanologists. Because of this, we're not playing the Evo's weapon, because that weapon is terrible. Teklo Leveler does not come online fast enough. Teklo Pistol is as good, if not better. The only advantages I could see Leveler having is it doesn't close your chain when you fire it, and that's only if you haven't loaded pistol yet. And I guess it has go again if you have all 3 evos equipped, since we're never playing 4. Pistol seems okay, but I mean, pistol is good. Leveler is not as good as pistol, but both are just okay. There isn't really a weapon that Teklovossen gets extreme use out of. As like I said, even Leveler is pretty bad. For what you get for getting 3 evos into play, doesn't really do much. And that one with go again doesn't matter all the time, since all of your bigger attacks cost 3, so you need to pitch 2 cards anyway. And all of your not big attacks have go again, and you can just end with the Teklo Pistol. This gives you flexibility, and it's actually really good with some of the evos that we're playing, but I will explain that later. Next, for the rest of our equipment, we have 3 pieces of Cogrex. We have the base head, base arms, and base legs. We are not playing the base chest in the main board, however it is in the deck. The reason for this is because Teklo Foundry Heart is actually really good. This is a boost-based deck, so we can try to banish some of our evos and get a pretty decent early game, as well as if we need to play slow, they all block 3, so we can easily do that. This just gives us 3 extra health throughout the game, since it has 2 block Battle Worn, with a really good effect as well. This list is not on Singularity. You do not care about having 4 evos in play. The only advantage to having 4 evos in play is, I suppose, your Terminator tank and War Machine come in for 9, but you're really just playing them for their strong hit effects, so it's not really as important. These 3 Cogrex pieces, I think Cogrex is the best base set. I don't want the 1-block ones, even though we are playing a bunch of instants as our evos. The 1-block ones feel really weird, and the Cogrex pieces do give you actually some nice utility. The extra action point could be good to help fire another pistol. The Cogrex base arms give something +1, so if you have head and legs equipped, you can give Terminator tank or War Machine +1, which is pretty nice. And the head is just 1 less card or 1 more card in your deck that your opponent has to go through, in case you banish something like your big reds, or like just a good red you want to play, like this T-Bone in a matchup you need T-Bone. Moving on to our other equipment, well, we play all 3 AB, the Visitronic Model I, and the Achilles Accelerator. In the matchups, we are bringing in Arcane Barrier. We will be bringing in the Cogrex base chest instead of the Teklo Foundry Heart. This is the main idea. Into matchups that we'd want 3AB, which is the Wizards, we will bring the Cogrex base chest instead of the Teklo Heart because they play less attacks than every other deck. We then get access to 3AB, as well as we do have an Evo here to bring in. We still get to play Terminator Tank and War Machine for 3. And we still get access to all of our boost cards and such. And we have enough blues to pay for 3AB because we're a mech deck anyway. So, this lets us still have the 2 Evos. We don't play this main board because I already said why we play Heart main board. And this competes for Heart's slot. Into matchups, you want 1 AB. So matchups, you would just bring like Achilles Accelerator. Those may be Rune Blades, Dromai if you want to, and I guess Prism if you're scared of the little bits of AB damage that she does. You can choose to keep the normal chest piece you have, or you can bring in this Cogrex base and then swap the Evo legs for the Evo chest we have in the sideboard. It is up to you, but this is how you beat arcane damage. Once you have 3AB, you have so much damage prevention. Even here, we play Oasis in our sideboard for even more arcane protection, but I'll talk about the rest of the sideboard whenever we get over to that. But for now, let's go over the main deck. Looking at the main deck, I'm going to skip the Evos for now because they will take a little while to explain. So other than the Evos and the War Machines and Terminator Tanks, we're on a pretty basic boost list. 3 High Octane because we get good value out of our pistol. 3 Outpace. I tried Pulse Wave in this slot, but since we're not a full boost deck, Pulse Wave felt pretty bad. Outpace is just like a consistent 1 for 4. If they want to stop it, they have to use a card since they can't use equipment. 6 T-Bone, 3 red, 3 blue, just because it's T-Bone. The blue is a pitch, the red's probably the second best 0 cost. I'd like red 0 to 60 a little more. 6 Throttle, same colors, because red Throttle is a popper, it's a 2 for 6. Blue Throttle is a breakpoint, and it's a blue. The 9x 0 to 60 and 9x Zipper Hit because they're really good. That's really all I have to say. They're the best boosts of their colors. And I guess Magnetic Shockwave is in the boost package. You don't need this one. I really like it. This one's really expensive, and the rest of the Teklo list is actually pretty cheap. I think like bar, maybe one of these Evos is a little expensive, and maybe the Magnetic Protocols, and obviously the High Octanes, but they're only a little bit. Magnetic Shockwave I don't think was ever reprinted in History Pack, so I think that's the reason why it's a little expensive. So there's just less of them and it's a little more expensive. But, of course, expensiveness shouldn't be the main priority for me adding or removing cards, other than when I play Icelander, and it's hard to find all, but oh well. For the rest of the deck, we have a few Evo synergy cards. I already talked about the 3 Terminator Tank and the 3 War Machine. These are just disruptive things your opponents have to block. Once 2 Evos are in play, they're a 3 for 6. They get 2 cards. Overpower's a little worse in Constructed since there's a lot more equipment. And, of course, D-Reacts exist. And no one's really playing blocks, but they exist too, I guess. So, War Machine and Terminator Tank do just get cards out of your opponent's hand. They're good to end a chain. They're good 2-card hand cards. They're just really strong. Magnetic Protocol is here just because it's a 3 for 5 late game. The effect on Magnetic Protocol really never comes up. So, it's just a 3 for 5 that's a 3 block at blue. Finally, the Evos. If you'll notice, we only play 12. 3 of each blue and two of each blue and 3 blues. So we're playing 6 blue Evos, and then 2 of each of our instant Evos. First, I'm going to talk about the blues and why we're only playing 2 of each, and it's just because you never play them. We're not on the chess piece because the chess piece is sideboard, and I really didn't want to sideboard the blue chess piece as we're never going to play it. These do come up sometimes. If it's turn 1 and you have the ability to play it, it's really good, especially since the other Evos we play are instants, so we can get the 6 block out of them. But their effects aren't really very good. They're really just 3 block blues. The good thing about them is that they are blues. That's why they're in the deck. And they're Evos in case we sometimes have them turn 1. The main Evos we're looking for, though. Oh, and the reason that the blues aren't at 3 is because there's just other cards we could play. Yeah, I guess if you don't have Magnetic Shockwaves, you could play the third set of the blues. But the main Evos we're looking for, we're playing some instant Evos. Evo Circuit Breaker, Evo Whizbang, and Evo Zipline. Why these specifically? It is because they are instants and they are free. The red gloves and red shoes seem okay. Since this is a boost-based deck, they actually could be better. However, when I was testing, I really felt that the yellow giving you that extra pitch mattered more when you found your second copy if the game doesn't go the way you want it to. Naturally, in a game where you're boosting cards, you'd hope to banish at least one Evo off the top. I think my opposing Vinsets have widespread ruin more Evos off the top than I have boosted Evos. So my boost luck is absolutely terrible, but boosting these Evos is what you want to be doing. You don't want to draw them. If you draw them, that's fine. It's 3 block out of your hand, but it is an Evo you can put into play. The issue I found was that drawing multiples felt really bad, so having these at yellow is actually really good. The reasons we're not on the yellow headpiece is because Evo Circuit Breaker is anti-fatigue. It shuffles 2 more attacks into your deck when you boost, which is really good. The reason the yellow isn't in the deck is because if you're banishing an Evo from your hand to draw a card, that means you drew an Evo, and you don't want to do that. So we don't play the yellow helmet. We're on the yellow gloves and the yellow legs for a few reasons. Even though we're on a boost deck, we could give a boost attack +2. I thought the flexibility, other than them being yellows, I thought the effect to give something +1 was actually really nice. You could give something like a Terminator tank or a War Machine +1 just to get the hit effect through, which is really good. If you end up playing these for 6, which feels pretty bad, but if you have like a War Machine, 2 blues, and the Evo Whizbang, you can like play War Machine for 6 and then play the Whizbang in a reaction, give it that hit effect if you have no other Evos already, and then hit them for 1, blow up their arsenal, which is really, really cool. It also just helps push through a little more damage sometimes. And then Evo Zipline can actually give the Teklovossen pistol go again. So it doesn't require you to have boosted yet like the red shoes to make the quicken. You can just play these after you shoot your pistol, give it go again, continue your turn. You can also use it on the bigger things like the War Machine, the Terminator tank. You can use it on an attack you don't want to boost as well. So if your hand's like a blue outpace and a throttle, you can play the throttle, boost it, use heart, play the outpace, not boost it, play the zip lines, and then shoot with pistol. So I think these are the ideal Evos from what I've tested. But, of course, those 2 are open slots pretty much for the red ones if you really wanted to play the red ones. I think the way the Evos are right now is pretty perfect. I think maybe some of the attacks could change. Like I said, I didn't find that Pulse Wave was super good, so it's Outpace instead. If you want to play Pulse Waves instead, you can go ahead. I think the rest of the boost attacks are pretty much where I want them to be. I guess you could play something instead of the yellow zippers if you wanted like the Pulse Wave and the Outpace. I wouldn't cut the yellow 0 to 60s because I think they're really good at a 0 for 3 at yellow, but you could do that as well. Moving on to the rest of the sideboard, we have 2 Evo Atom Breaker. I don't remember, I think the yellow chess piece just gives you 1 resource. That didn't feel really good. This gives you 2 resource when you boost the first time, pretty much. Or I guess when you need it whenever you boost, since it's destroying a card under it. So for when you do need to bring in the Kagrak Space Chest, this is actually a really good card to put in over the yellow. We have 3 Demolition Protocol. This is a popper as well as against mech decks, mainly things like the dashes. I guess against mechs you can bring it in to destroy drivers, but mainly against the dashes, you can bring this in, reset their gun, reset their items. This is actually really strong into those matchups, as well as it's a popper for Dromai. Even though the deck already has 9, you might as well bring in more because Bravo plays like 30 and he even struggles in that matchup. And I think this deck has a similar plan into that, even though you do get a little more attacks than what a Bravo would. As well as into Prism, if they have 1 parable, this still blocks 6, so this is still a popper, which is really nice. 3 Heavy Artillery. Heavy Artillery was a card I was considering putting into the main board, but after trying it, it turns out that this card isn't a main board slot as I thought it would be. That's the slot for the outpace was. I wanted to play this instead of Pulse Wave, but I realized that I needed that 1 boost attack instead of this. This has kind of been delegated to anti-Dromai card. This is itself a really good popper. Dromai is a pretty bad matchup, to be honest, since Tomotai can blow up your equipment, which, since you need equipment for this deck to actually work, it feels really bad. As well as some other decks, this could come in to push out damage in the late game. So I do like the Heavy Artilleries. These make a really nice Evo upgrade sideboard plan package. The final 2 cards are definitely the most interesting. Induction Chamber is here. Because we are on the Teklo Plasma Pistol, we do get to play Induction Chamber. This is going to come into any slower matchup. A matchup like Bravo, a matchup like Arachne, I suppose. Maybe if you wanted a matchup like Dromai, where the pistol could be used instead of a boost attack to kill dragons. The main reason that this is here is because landing an induction chamber doubles the output of your weapon, and in those matchups the weapon is super important so you don't waste cards, since those are matchups that will try to fatigue you in theory since you are a mechanologist. If they don't plan on fatiguing you, this card does block for 0, which does kinda suck, but there is only 2 in the deck, so it's not like you'll draw it super often. The last card in the deck, Oasis Respite. You may be wondering, why is this card here? It is not a mechanologist card. We are a boost deck. I understand. However, in the arcane matchups, and also into Dash IO, this could be pretty good because you can target their weapon and prevent 2 shots of it. But mainly in the arcane matchups, we are going down 4 Evos in the shoes and the head, and only bringing in 2 in the Atom Breakers. Into the Wizards, I wouldn't bring in Chamber, so we needed another 2 slot. Oasis Respite seemed like the best option. Oasis gives us a 4 prevention, so this plus a blue and RAB gives us 6 prevention off of 1 blue, and this card itself, which is very good in the Wizard. This card is another reason why I think the Wizard matchup gets easier. into the wizards, you're probably going to go down some of the boost cards as well to bring in some heavier things. In those matchups, you're not planning on playing a slower game. You want to prevent their damage and threaten them. You don't want to overextend. And the boosting can kind of make you overextend. So we can go down things like, I guess you could cut the yellows, zipper and zeros if you wanted. But I guess you could even just go up these. Mainly the heavy artillery instead of because Demolition Protocol doesn't do anything there. But going up Oasis, Atom Breaker going down, these Evos, even in a boost plan, this card just is super good in the matchup that you need it in. And, of course, everyone's saying, Teklo loses arcane damage. Where do you get your AB? It's right here. Mech has had it the whole time, but no one has done something like this from what I've seen. That's going to be it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope maybe that with the tech in this video, maybe if this deck itself doesn't become the primary Teklovossen deck or something close to it, that maybe these ideas of the 3AB plus one other Evo in the sideboard becomes the main plan. I think the Tekloheart main board is probably still the way to go for the future, since I think Singularity kind of doesn't do anything, and there's really no point other than the tank and the War Machine to ever have 4 Evos in play. So I think Heart's definitely the main option there. And I hope this hero just gets better. Heavy hitters, I assume we're going to have another expansion slot, just like we had for Bright Lights. So maybe Teklo gets some card there that could be really good. That might change him. But for right now, Teklo will probably stay around that Arachne and Riptide level. But I do indeed think that he can definitely get way better. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I will see you in the next one. Not sure what we'll do for the next one because we only had 3 Bright Lights heroes. But I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.